Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the wood care segment of the Stain and Seal Show, where we talk about professional wood care tips and tricks, how to maintain your wood for all species under the sun. So whether you're a contractor or a do-it-yourselfer, you're here at the right place. Today's species that we're going to talk about is, stay tuned and find out. Today's species of wood is Western red cedar. Most of you know what it is, but let's talk about it. We like it so much. First of all, we made a stain color called cedar tone, right? Everybody's used it. It's really popular. Everybody loves cedar tone because it makes it look like Western red cedar. So Western red cedar trees, I'm reading from my chart now, are capable of growing to heights of 165 to 200 feet. In Western red cedar, the scientific name, let's look at this on the screen there, Thuja plicata. That is the name of a Western red cedar tree, but it grows in the Pacific Northwestern United States and Canada. It's all over Canada. Canada has an abundance of red Western cedar, but this lumber has an exceptional resistance to insects and decay. Not so much in Middle Tennessee because our ground acidity is high and it eats the stuff up. That's why you don't see it for fence post in Middle Tennessee, but it does have moderate strength. It's moderately soft. All this stuff over here that you see behind me, this is Western cedar. It's lightweight and it's completely non-resinous. So I think there's not much sap in it. And then it works easily and it's dimensionally stable. This is a cool fact. It has the lowest shrinkage of any North American softwood species. So I think that's probably not only because it's beautiful, but I think that shrinkage is probably one of the main reasons that it's used so much, because if you put things together and it shrinks, it will look unsightly. So if you're doing something and you want it to look good for life, cedar sounds like a great choice. The grades of cedar, or Western red cedar, is divided into several grades, and they're distinguished just like others with heartwood, sapwood, and they've got clear grades and knotty grades and uses. I want to talk about the uses of Western red cedar because you might find all kinds of opportunity to stain and seal Western red cedar. It's commonly used for fencing, decking, shingles like cedar shakes on roofs. You guys have seen those. Siding, a lot of painted siding that you see is actually made of cedar. And posts and beams, obviously the big front porch post, and then beams and timber frame construction. You see a lot of that. Here's two more interesting ones: boat building and musical instruments. So that's pretty cool. Western red cedar also produces its own oil as a preservative. And you can use this when you're trying to speak with different customers about their cedar and the importance of using an oil-based stain, because many of you guys watching use oil-based stain products. And so Western red cedar produces its own oil as a preservative. But once the tree is cut and milled into lumber, this oil that is acting as a preservative diminishes. Western red cedar is beautiful, obviously, when it's used for exterior products. When you see a brand new Western red cedar home or fence or deck, it's gorgeous, but it loses its color quickly. Treated pine will tend to hold its color longer. Cedar tends to start to change pretty quickly, and it turns into a very iconic silvery gray. And a lot of people really, really like the gray. We would build a lot of beautiful cedar things, and people would say, well, I can't wait for it to turn gray, because that was the look that they had in their mind. They didn't have the new cedar look in their mind like I did as the contractor. Their dream was the gray fence. So it always drove me nuts when people wanted to build a brand new, beautiful cedar fence with clear cedar lumber, and then they wanted us to stain it gray. Just made me pull my hair out a little bit. If your Western red cedar is already gray, it's really easy to restore with the right chemicals. Newer wood, typically new cedar, that's less than a year old but has already turned gray, cleans very easily. So you can use a light chemical mix and little or no pressure. So that's a good thing. But on the other end of the spectrum, if your cedar is really old, nasty, it's got a lot of organic growth, you're gonna have to use something stronger. And a lot of times you'll have to remove that top layer of wood to get down to that really beautiful underlayer. And on smooth surfaces, you got to sand them if you really want it to look its best. Most master painters and guys that do a lot of deck staining on Western cedar, they're going to run a 80 grit sandpaper over top of that before they do it. And I guess higher grades of sandpaper or grits on like fine finish work and stuff. I see some guys on social media that do really high-end cedar work, and it looks like they're sanding it down pretty smooth. Western red cedar takes oil very well. It will absorb a lot of oil. In my opinion, in my experience, a new cedar fence will absorb more oil than a new treated pine fence. But an old cedar fence will hold less oil than an old treated pine fence. I recommend, just for those watching that don't know, maybe you're a homeowner and you've got a cedar fence and you're watching this because your contractor told you to. I recommend cleaning cedar yearly. You know, you wash your car every couple weeks. You should clean your fence or deck every year. Maintenance coat of stains on Western red cedar are pretty much industry standard numbers. So in the industry, we have always been told that the standard for flat surfaces or horizontal surfaces is to recoat every 2 years, and vertical surfaces every 4 years, to keep them looking picture perfect. A maintenance coat of stain is it's not a complete overhaul. Generally, if you use 20 gallons of stain to stain a fence year 1, on year 4 you may use 8 gallons. You may not use quite as much. So you want to keep those maintenance intervals close enough together that you're just topping it off. You just want to keep it topped off and keep it looking slick. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in to the Stain and Seal Show. I really hope you enjoyed that clip. To see another clip just like it that I think you're going to love, click on this link right here. Or if you want to see the full episode, check us out down here. Now make sure you subscribe and like, and we'll see you on the next Stain and Seal Show.